Make sure you're of age in your appropriate area.
What does that even mean?
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is
Hello.
up, Matthew?
Not
Welcome back.
well. It's been so long.
Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
Happy Wednesday if you're listening to it on a Wednesday, or happy
Yeah, if you didn't know,
day.
we come out with episodes every Wednesday.
every Wednesday on all of your platform needs and wants, and wherever you get your podcasts, we'll be there.
Yeah, and if it's not there, you just hop into our Discord. Just go to the linktree, hop into our Discord, and you let us know where you want it, and we'll get it there.
We're also on Discord.
As of today, we're drinking again.
Again, 2 weeks in a row of drinking. What are we drinking today? We're back at Counterpart.
Make sure you're of age in your appropriate area.
What does that even mean?
To drink.
What's a not an appropriate area? Wait a second.
I'm just saying, certain countries have different laws, you know?
Touche.
So we are having another beer
From Counterpart.
from
Brewery.
Counterpart, which, if you listened to last week's episode, was also a beer from Counterpart. This one we're going with a dark ale, as opposed to a sour, and it's called Rise and Shine Blended Dark Ale with coffee, maple syrup, cinnamon, and vanilla. 7.5%.
Reminds me of the other night when I was drinking a can. It was similar, 355 can, and it was a salted caramel beer from Nickelbrook. And I'm sipping on it, I'm drinking it, right? And like I'm 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like, why is this hitting me? And I look down at fat right on the side of the can, 11%. I was like, damn.
Must be good that you didn't notice, though.
Yeah, it was really good. But it was hard to drink. It was super sweet, to be fair.
Definitely very coffee forward.
Yeah. Now, are you more of a sour fan or a dark ale fan? Where you sit on the... You're not a big beer guy.
Yeah, no, I'm not a beer fan.
So...
It's chocolatey. Very chocolatey.
I like it.
Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? Got a lot of random topics, so this is a very us episode.
So random.
Well, coming to an end of the anime season, actually. The winter season, the first season of the year, which
Yes.
has had some decent shows. They've been decent, and some of the ones that have carried over have held their quality. But if you're interested in the spring season, we will be releasing the episode next week.
Yes. And that will
of
also
our
be...
spring preview.
Which will be awesome, because that will also be a full year of us reviewing animes that are coming out. Because we started... One of our earlier episodes was
Spring
summer. Summer
Oh, the
one.
summer preview. So
Yeah.
so we would have gone through all the seasons. So
Yeah, which is crazy, because that means we're getting closer to our 1 year anniversary of this podcast.
which is also
Which
crazy.
is crazy to think about.
It really is crazy. So yeah, if you're into anime and you want to know what kind of shows we're going to be interested in watching, turn next week where we will be discussing the spring season of 2023.
Exactly.
So some things. First off, Hogwarts Legacy came out a few weeks back. I got it. I played it. It was pretty good.
Just about to ask, how was it? But
Yeah. It's like probably around 50 hours into the game.
okay,
Not done all the side missions, but I've completed the main story, which was pretty decent. Some of my predictions of what certain characters were going to do or be or whatnot did not come to fruition, but that's fine. Overall, I think it was a decent story. I think,
it looked nice. Looked pretty.
yeah, it's decent looking. I do think there are a couple things that could definitely be improved if there was ever like a sequel or
DLC.
I think pretty much only characters that you can interact with are characters that give you side quests or our main quests or our shopkeepers. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think if you want to make it that more super immersive, that you should just be able to interact with whoever.
Yeah.
I think the flying system is a little bit jank. It's fun to fly on a broom, but I feel like the controls are bad.
We said there was like a camera, like the same.
No, so I was playing with a controller on my computer, and right stick is your camera, which is very common for pretty much most games ever.
Yeah.
And the issue is, when you would think about flying, I think most games go the route of your left stick overall controls where you're going, and you just adjust your camera to adjust where you're going.
Yeah.
To make sure that you're always going in the direction you want to go. That's the point of the camera. But they have it so that your camera also controls your up and down. So you can't ever actually look down without moving down on your, which is weird.
Yeah.
So, I've seen some people complain about the combat system being pretty repetitive, and it is if you force yourself to just use your one set of spell diamonds. You get 4 spell diamonds if you choose to upgrade to have more, and you could have up to, a good amount of spells.
Yeah.
Like 16 spells you could theoretically be using, which would be ridiculous, but that could make it more interesting for you if you find it bland. The other thing is you can do different styles. So something I discovered is if you upgrade a lot of your stealth stuff, you can just make any mission a stealth mission and just stealth up and do it that way. That can make it more interesting. You could use curses.
So what you're saying is that for the game itself, there's not just one type of way to play. Like you can kind of make it your own adventure. It's not like a choose your adventure kind of situation, but like
No, you're definitely railroaded.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of combat, you can for the most part do whatever spells you feel comfortable with, or you can force yourself to do something different. You could, if you do the stealth stuff, you could almost do everything in stealth for the most part, other than like big boss battles. And then same with the curses I ended up learning myself. And there's some cool skill tree things with the curses where you can like spread. Basically, they make it so that you can curse enemies, and then you can see it has like a green X on them, and different spells can apply curse.
Okay.
And then there's one in the skill tree that if you use the killing curse, it bounces to anyone that's cursed.
Oh damn.
So instead of just killing one person with it, you just
Killing
make
everyone.
Just make sure you bounce the curse, and one of them is the mind control curse.
Okay.
Anyone they hit, it applies the curse to. So basically, you just go invisible, mind control someone. They start hitting everyone, spreading the curse, and then while you're at it, use your Expelliarmus, because if you do the skill tree with Expelliarmus, adding curse, and you just add curse to 7 different enemies, then you killing curse one of them, and all 7 dead.
Damn.
So
Found it out.
there are interesting. I do think overall, I think it was a very ambitious game, and I think it was pretty good. I just think that there are still lots of rooms for improvement for a game like that. I do think the Switch version is probably going to be absolutely awful. Unfortunate, because I know that's basically what Matt's going to be forced to play on, but I can't see the Switch version of the game being anywhere near as good.
That's fair.
Because some of the things that make the game really good is the lack of cutscenes, the lack of loading screens, for going outside to the castle, of entering the forest. I feel like in a lot of older open world RPG games, when you'd enter the forest, it'd be like a quick loading screen to be like, okay, now loading
Skyrim.
Up,
Skyrim
loading
is a
up
great
X
example.
area, right?
Yeah.
And there's none of that. Sometimes you might get a little loading circle at the door you're about to go through, but then you're right through. And I think on like stuff like the Switch, that's just not going to be able to handle that. There'll be tons. It's going to be almost a completely different game.
Find out in July.
Yeah. I think the story obviously will be the same side missions, but I think the overall feel of the game
Will be very different.
Will be a very different experience and not a good one.
That's unfortunate for me.
Yeah, it definitely is. Unfortunately, the Switch is just not a powerful system, and a lot of games now are going to be catering towards the next gen consoles and PC. And although the Switch is a next gen console, it's just not. At the end of the day, it's a portable system. It's not going to be able to put up
for sure
the same standard, I guess. It doesn't have the same beef to it.
It's true.
But overall, it was fun, and it's cool when you start being able to get like your closer to your end gear, and you can design the look of how you want to be. Like after you have so many of the different unlocked look outfits and stuff, you can just pick what outfit you want to. You just switch whatever your gear is to look like the way you want to, which is nice. There's different wand handles, so you can have your wand look the way you want.
There's a cool thing you said that too, like for your sorting into housing, you can hook like your Pottermore account.
Yeah, I think the Pottermore is now called Harry Potter Fan Club, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter or something or other.
Yeah, but you can hook it up. You're not forced to be in the house either.
Okay.
So if you don't want to be in whatever house you were put in, you can just like they say in the books and stuff, you can just say no, like you go in whenever you want. And same with the wand, you don't have to use the wand they give you.
The wand choose the wizard, Mr. Bata.
I don't know if there's a side quest for Patronus, but no, the Patronus is irrelevant because I haven't had to use it or see anything.
That's a letdown. But in the grand scheme of things, not really. But
it's just something else that was on that website that you figure out, right? Dang, this beer is very chocolatey. It doesn't even taste like coffee.
I get the chocolate kind of notes, but
it's very forward.
It's pretty good though. It's definitely.
On top of that, we began streaming some of Hogwarts Legacy just for testing, seeing how it goes, seeing if computer can handle it, internet can handle it, et cetera, et cetera. But they went pretty well, I think, overall. We had a couple viewers, and I think only one crash.
Which was good.
Not bad, not bad. So potentially some streaming in the future.
If we do get into streaming, let us know what kind of games and stuff you guys want us to try out.
Maybe play with some people we've had on, like Ebats.
Yep. Ebats, Dan Chan.
Which actually will lead into a question, we're going to answer a question very early on of the episode. And this comes from Tim, who we've been lucky enough to have on the episode, on the podcast multiple times.
4 times at least.
And was also kind enough to lead a one-shot for us.
Yes. If you're a fan of D&D, make sure you check out our one-shot that we did.
And his question is, what are your go-to archetypes for RPGs, whether tabletop like D&D or in video games like Warcraft and Dragon Age?
You want to lead this one, Connor?
So for video games, I'm very... I usually gravitate towards like the spellcaster.
Yep.
Not usually a melee, any form of melee character. Which is funny because in the current campaign that has begun for my friends, our second campaign in the same world, we've talked about it before on previous episodes.
Yep.
I'm actually playing a paladin for the first time, which is melee. But I definitely gravitate towards, like, for D&D, I think the rogue is cool, but I like the idea of more of like playing the range style.
Yeah.
I'm also more into, I think wizard's probably been my favorite, but I like the idea of sorcerer and warlock. Like I like the magic archetypes, kind of spell casting. And that kind of carries over in a lot of RPG style video games as well. Usually picking the spell casting or more range characters, just, I don't want to get mauled, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what my thought process is. Maybe I think they're cooler. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Wizards are pretty neat.
But, like, the only one I can think of that isn't a game that I consistently go to a melee style character is Diablo 3, where I almost always play a monk.
Okay.
Which is melee. I do like the Demon Hunter class and the Wizard class in that as well. Those are my 2 second and third most played. But Monk is by far like I'm talking might have like 500 to 600 hours on Monk alone, and then the next closest is probably like 150 hours on Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair. For me, obviously I don't play as many video games as you. But most of the time, if I'm playing a video game RPG, I usually go for the melee character. I don't know why. It's just what I end up, just my default.
It's just what you want to do.
It's just my own. I'm like, let's go to the front of the lines and just beat the crap out of things and hope for the best. Because I usually am playing with someone who's more of a range character. So if I get my ass kicked, they support me from afar.
They got your back.
Exactly, literally. But it's funny because from when I'm playing a game and stuff, always a melee character. But if I'm like part of like the story creation, then I want to be some type of like wizard range character. It's really weird. But best of both worlds, I guess, for me.
Oh, and depending on if I really like the game, I probably am giving multiple classes a try.
Exactly.
Anyways, is another thing. I think if you enjoy the game, usually you're not, at least from my experience, I'm usually like, oh, okay, I tried this class. I want to see how things are on this class.
For sure.
In Lost Ark, I can't remember what the archetype is, but I'm a Deathblade or something, which is a melee, but it was more because it's super edgy and cool was the reason I picked it.
That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, obviously you don't play as many games, so
No. We need to get more into the video games. That's the streaming. Hopefully.
Pokemon, I play the range types.
Play the Lego games.
Oh yeah, Star Wars, the Force, the range.
Exactly.
And I throw my lightsaber.
Genius. Ranged.
Well, thanks for the question, Tim. Another little thing that we have that's a recent development is, Matt, you've started collecting some manga. Not just regular comics, but
I
the Japanese
dipped
comics.
into the Japanese comics officially more than I'd like to admit. I'm kidding. So I've had manga for a little bit. I've had like the first 10 collected editions of the Pokemon manga, which is technically the first 30 volumes, which is like one cohesive connective story.
Yep.
Whichever, however. And then I got into the light novels aspect. So I have, I think, 6 or 7 light novels now. I have the 2 Ace One Piece ones, like the One Piece Ace light novels. I have 3 or 4 Naruto light novels. I have the I Want to Eat Your Pancreas light novel. And then the writer of I Want to Eat Your Pancreas has various other manga as well. And they all become light novels. So I picked up one of that one the other day, which I think is like, I hope this feeling goes away someday or something like that. Something similar to that title. And then we've talked about it briefly on the podcast earlier, but I've started collecting the Tokyo Revengers collected 2-in-1 mangas now, because those are the ones that are coming out right now.
Yeah, that is how they're being released.
Yeah.
For the English release, which, good story. So
Yeah. And then the other one is Record of Ragnarok.
Record of Ragnarok.
Which the concept is super neat. Right up my alley, if you know me. Don't watch the anime. We're going to leave it at that after that aspect. But there's 5 volumes of Record of Ragnarok. I wanted to get into more manga for like series I like. But the issue is, a lot of the time, is that there's just so many volumes. And it's just the game of playing catch up. It takes a while, right?
Well, I mean, I think of it this way. If, like, I think you started at a good point for, hey, the first one, I guess it's technically like 8 volumes of Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah.
But
4, but 8.
8 volumes, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like, 8 volumes in terms of what the actual content is.
Yeah.
Is not too bad, like, in terms of catching up.
No.
And it's a good spot to be like, okay, I'm going to read this as we go, as it comes out.
Yeah. But if
do
I were to
think-
like jump into like My Hero, for example, that's on like volume 35.
You say that, but there's also a box set that will get you, like,
Yeah, to volume
past
20.
halfway.
But still.
I think with the bigger series, My Hero is a little extreme because it is, when you start reaching like the 30 plus, it's big. But if you're like 20,
Yeah.
I think the key is just to, one, obviously take it at your own pace, and then just pick up the new. You don't have to pick up all 20 right away.
No.
You can pick up the first 2, first 3. If you don't like it,
For sure.
return it.
But speaking of finished series, 20 volumes, kind of thing like that, this will be old news when this episode comes out, but Viz came out saying they're going to be doing a box set for Promised Neverland.
They did, yes.
And I think that's going to be my first box set.
I'm excited to see what the box set will look like.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. But with Promised Neverland, that was my first like manga I started reading weekly. That was the first manga that we watched an episode, and I went home and started reading it.
First one that made you want to just read.
Exactly. It really got me into manga, first weekly, so on and so forth. Great story. I'm a fan of plot twists, so it's right up my alley. I have the tie-in one-shot collector's edition-esque thing that kind of ties into it.
Yep.
So I think definitely this will be my my first box set.
That's exciting.
It's exciting.
What do you think of Naruto or One Piece?
For the box sets or just in general?
Just in general. I know that they're some of your favorite series, so.
They are some of my favorite series, but with someone like me who also collects graphic novels and regular novels and everything else, it'd be awesome to get Naruto, for example.
But they're more of a collection piece. It's not,
but it's a collection
the stuff
piece.
you've started picking up, other than potentially The Promised Neverland, is all stuff you haven't read.
Exactly.
Stuff you're going to be reading as it comes out.
Correct. So that kind of in my head is different from buying a series I've already.
For the most part, the route you want to take.
Yeah.
It. I see. That's very cool.
Because don't get me wrong, One Piece is great. I'd love to own it all one day, but for the time being,
You're just like, I'll just wait until it's done.
Yeah, I'll just wait till it's done, and then
if
pick
it
up
never
the
ends, you'll be like,
6
oh,
box
well, I
sets.
did say I'd get it when it's done, but
Exactly. If I die before the end of One Piece, it'll be sad, but whatevs. But even Naruto too. Like Naruto is 72 volumes. That's 3 box sets.
that's not including Boruto if you want to include it as.
Boruto.
Some people like to include it in.
Kishimoto said that he's gonna keep it under 100 for the Naruto Boruto story from collection for the volumes, but we don't know if that's actually gonna happen or not.
We will see.
With what's going on in the Boruto manga right now, we are coming up to the final arc that's been foreshadowed since the first chapter. So
First episode.
No, it's probably like the 30th episode because that manga anime canon bullcrap.
No, that's why it's the first episode, but there was no manga at the time.
Yikes! True. But I don't know. I picked up some like the Naruto light novels, so that would be kind of like my dip for my collection for the Naruto stuff because those are still coming out. New Naruto light novels are coming out. I think Minato's getting a light novel, which will be super neat. But yeah, we'll see. I think just with the longer stuff, yeah, I think I want to collect stuff that I haven't read. Like I'd love to collect the Monogatari series, like the light novels, eventually. But again, there's like the wish list of eventually I'll grab that to add to my collection. But until then, there's a lot more President things that I haven't read that are coming out, like you said.
Going off of some of our favorite series, we never actually talked about it. Well, we discussed that we saw, but we never talked about the movie. And that was Film Red, which is a One Piece film.
It came out back in November.
It covered Shanks' daughter. Shanks' daughter.
Vivi, not Vivi.
No, not Vivi.
That damn song. Oh, Ida. What's his daughter's name in the film again?
Uta, I thought.
Uta. You're right. It's Uta, not Ida. Yeah, it's Uta. I'm so tired, listeners. I'm tired.
But it kind of followed more of a musical. It was more music based.
Yes, it's
due to Uta's powers.
Yeah, Dover powers. It's not a musical film. It's a movie that has music in it.
More than usual. Well, I mean,
yes,
most movies have.
It's a movie about music, not a musical.
Yeah,
which sounds weird, but that's a very different thing.
Some of the songs were pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, some
of them were not so good.
Some of the
I will say though,
were good.
In my opinion, I will say that I do think it was a little bit of a weaker film overall, considering some of the One Piece films we've been getting. The past few ones were pretty great. I do think that this one was a little bit
not a letdown, but
not a letdown, no, but just not as good or not as entertaining.
Yeah,
there were definitely parts I enjoyed. I liked the scene where we finally got to see Shanks do some stuff, which we've obviously not really seen in both anime and manga.
Yep.
So, knowing that Oda helps work on the movie so much makes me just feel like we're getting closer and closer to Endgame, because now he's okay with we can have Shanks do some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like not that the movies are canon, but
they're not.
They're not canon, but I don't know. Like
the
it
reason
makes me feel
the past few movies have been better is because of Oda's help, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. It's just I know it's filler, but it's also good to know that Oda's helping out with them.
That's because the guy's a workaholic.
I know, but still, I respect workaholics.
He's a crazy man, that Oda. But yeah, we didn't really cover it much because honestly, we can just cover it right now, in an episode. Really, there's not much else to say.
We were throwing this idea back and forth over time.
The Straw Hats, like any shonen filler, a random movie. They go to a place, you follow the main characters. They look like they're having a good time. Then there's a bad time. They solve the bad time with some cool anime fights and cool action sequences.
Then we move on like it
and
never
this one
happened.
had the bonus of some better
Music.
songs. I think the one cool thing, we saw it subbed, but the dub version had Amelie, who is a YouTuber that does a lot of covers of songs, who has started doing a lot more voice acting work in the past few years. But she actually played Uta as in the English. The songs were still in Japanese, I'm pretty sure. But she, of course, released her own versions of the covers.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of
They're
something
good, though.
full circle about her whole career on YouTube being covers, doing English covers of anime songs, and then being an anime voice actor now.
Yeah.
And playing a character that is a singer.
It's just irony that she didn't get to dub the songs.
It would have been cool. I'm sure she would have done a great job.
Yeah.
But that's just like a little fun little information if you didn't know. Going on, we'll keep going down the anime route here. So I can't remember if we've discussed it, but with some friends, we watch. Well, Matt might be joining potentially. We'll see next one. But we're currently watching 86 in our weekly anime watching. If you've seen Code Geass, that is like one of the best kind of similarity, like comparisons for it, where it's wartime. There's a race of people that are oppressed, and these ones are forced to fight. They're not treated like people. But we finished the first half of the first season. We're a third of the way done the second part. And honestly, it's been pretty good. The hype has been appropriate, I would say. It definitely does not shy away from how devastating and messed up war is, which I feel like a lot of stories overall do.
Yeah.
But it definitely doesn't try. It's not scared to just kill off characters, to be like, it doesn't matter if they're
No one's safe.
this person's best friend,
Yeah.
because it's war. And it's been pretty good, not gonna lie. So that's a quick update on that.
You guys are almost done it?
Yeah, we're on the part 2 of season 1, which is 12 episodes,
Okay.
and we've got 8 episodes left.
And then season 2? Or is that just
It's just the first part of season 1 is 11 episodes, and then this one's 12.
Gotcha. And do you have an idea?
I
of what's
believe it's
next?
Tokyo Revengers, but not
Fair.
too sure. Could change. Maybe you join us and we change it up.
We shall see.
We shall see.
But speaking of animes, finishing them up, anime opinions, everything like that. Where was I going with this thought?
I don't know where you're going there, Matthew.
I can't remember now.
We're going to talk about rating.
Yes, that is where my head was going.
We have talked about rating stuff.
We have a little bit.
But we more discussed
How far?
do you have to finish a series to rate it? Do you have to, or, it was a past episode where we kind of covered it. So this one we'll just go over quickly, but I find it interesting because everyone rates shows, movies, anime, etc. on their own kind of scale. It's subjective. At the end of the day, everything's subjective.
For sure.
But there are metrics in which people try to use to kind of
Give a baseline.
But I want to say take out a lot of your biases.
Yeah.
Because I think a major issue for me personally, and I know this can affect, I'm sure it affects a lot of people, and it's recency bias.
100%.
You watch something that's good, and you're just like, that was one of the best things I've ever seen. And you're giving it a 9, giving it a 10, giving it something that maybe if you gave it a couple weeks and you thought back, you're like,
Maybe it's not.
not that high.
Which I do. This is kind of going off topic a little bit, but Netflix did something for a show that was called Love, Death, and Robots, so they wouldn't have that like bias aspect of it. So when season one was out,
everyone got a different order.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
For that exact reason, so people wouldn't have the same opinions on episodes, just to show that that is a thing.
It is. There's the bias of what you've read from other people that definitely affect how you think
Yep.
of something. And then there's obviously recency bias of just how recent you finish. Basically, if you don't know what recency bias is, it's recency being recent.
Yep.
And then the bias of it is you're more likely to rate the piece you've just seen especially if you took it positively at a much higher spot than potentially something you've seen a year, 2 years ago. And when you think about it, because well, obviously you don't remember it as much.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're just like, oh no, this was way better because in the moment, that's what it feels like.
Exactly.
So going off of that, so I created a spreadsheet
Yep.
that covered some of like the main things I'm usually looking for in an anime, which is, so I had the OST, like the music.
Mm-hmm.
I had characters, and under characters, I'm thinking of stuff like both their designs, but also if there's any progression, development, depending on it. And the other thing is, this didn't work for everything because there are anime stories where they're very episodic, and the whole point, you don't get character progression or very much for the characters. You really only have the character design to go off of because that's just not the type of story it is.
Correct.
So you have to take that into account when I was doing this. To be fair, I don't really do this because I'm lazy, so I don't really fill out this spreadsheet anymore. But this was the thought,
The baseline.
the thought process behind it
For sure.
was that, and then so there's characters, there's the OST, of course, there's animation, there's the art style, which is different than animation because art style kind of, I'm no artist, but art style kind of covers the design choices of the way the backgrounds look, the art style of the characters,
The use of CGI.
the art of the characters, some CGI exactly, and not the movement of them, just the way it strictly looks in appearance. And then I also had enjoyment because I feel like that's important.
It is.
You know, someone can be 10 out of 10s on all of those things.
But if you didn't like it,
But if
you
you think
didn't
it
like
was boring, that impacts the score, doesn't
Exactly.
it?
Violet Evergarden. Beautiful animation.
And I feel like
but
that's the main
not so
reason
much.
initially. I created this when I was first starting to get really, really into anime.
Yeah.
And by really into, I mean, not just cranking out episodes and shows like crazy. I mean, I wanted to be a little bit more, I don't want to say elitist, just more fair to everything. Because I started realizing I was giving things 8s and I'm looking at the score and I'm like, there's no way this is the same as this. You know, this is like a really strong 8. But this is a really weak 8. So I was like, how do I figure out how to really differentiate them? So that's why I created this. Was I was going to give everything something out of 10, and I use to the 10th. So I had decimals.
Yep.
And then I had it average it out. And the reason for that was, like, there are series where they are good, but maybe the enjoyment was low. But I didn't want, because I feel like that enjoyment takes over a lot in people's initial ratings of it.
I do agree.
So even if it was for extremist case, let's just say it was a 10 out of 10 on everything, but then my enjoyment was bad, I would usually end up giving it like a 6, 7 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then with this new way of doing it, I would see, okay, it was like an 8.3. Even with my less enjoyment, where maybe if I was to do it just based off of on top of my head because of my enjoyment, it would probably be lower.
For sure.
That was my reasoning going through. So the reason I bring it up is I just wanted to discuss when you go about, my thought, I guess, is a question to you is, first of all, do you think that, obviously it's a little extreme, but do you think it's like elitist to do that?
No. I don't think
what's kind of your, because so you rank yours more off of feel, obviously.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on the podcast before, where you do plan on starting to go through and kind of comparing some of them, being like, I do think I gave this one a little too high. I do think that X series is definitely a stronger 8.
Yeah.
So maybe this will drop down one. What kind of is your process, and what do you think of the whole someone who puts in that extra effort?
I don't think it's elitist to put that extra effort in because of how large and more popular the anime communities are coming every week every day. I feel like more people are getting into anime. So I don't think I think it's the reverse. If you don't think about those things, like if you watch an anime and you're like, well, that's 10 out of 10 anime, I don't care what anyone else says. That's where the elitist opinion comes in.
Oh, okay. You're saying like, I don't care what someone else is thinking.
Yeah, which to me, that's not necessarily, when you phrase it that way, it's not necessarily elitist, but I think in any nerdum community.
Shutting the door, well, it comes to both shutting the door. I think
it's elitist opinions if you don't realize other people's opinions. Like they may not be your own, but in any nerdum, like people will say that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film. Some people will say Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars film.
I think elitism comes to when you put down others for liking something they like.
It's your way or no way.
Yes.
Like that is the elitist opinion.
Oh, you like Sword Art Online, you're not a real anime fan. Like you don't
exactly.
know what good anime is. Like you like Sword Art Online, you like Sword Art Online.
Exactly. You like Death Note, you like Death Note. Like it's
exactly. Like at the end of the day, and I guess my thing is I really like having conversations. So that's why one of the reasons I created the spreadsheet was one, to try and give out it was to get a better overall rating, right? I wanted to make sure I was giving everything else a fair shot because that way I'm not just going off of my head and what I remember of other series or whatnot. This is what I gave all of these scores to all of these important parts of what I consider important in an anime. Yeah. And that's the score it got at the end. Like, there's no arguing. That's what it got. But the other thing was, someone can ask me about an anime. Let's say you ask me about Code Geass. Now, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but I could go through, I gave it, let's say, for example, I gave it a 6. I didn't, so don't come and tag me.
Come at
But let's say I gave it a 6, but I could tell you why.
Then that's okay.
I could be like, if you're like 6, it's a 9 out of, 9, it's a masterpiece, a 10 out of 10. How could you possibly give it this? And then we get a nice conversation. This is one of my favorite things about anime. I have it with Gray, with my brother, with one of my friends, Evan, with you, where it's just, you go back and forth. Maybe there's things you like about an anime. Maybe there's things I don't. And we just kind of bounce off. And maybe there are disagreements, but you kind of come, maybe
but it's the baseline of being like, okay, that's what you think, that's what I think, and that's okay.
Well, and seeing, okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Or in vice versa, where you're like, I guess maybe you didn't even recognize the foreshadowing. Like you didn't notice it when you were watching. You're like, wow, okay, if that's actually in it, that changes how I would think about the show. And that goes into, I've had some arguments or disagreements where I get a lot of, I didn't like it 'cause.
Yeah. I just didn't like it.
Which is fine. It's something that really, like, I guess is like a pet peeve when someone there is no reason.
It just feels like they're saying it to try to
people
be
can have at the end of the day, like if you don't have a reason, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess for me, it's just, I'm so into having conversation and I'm so interested in
why people didn't like it, why they liked it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially if it's a series that it's a differing opinion. Like say I didn't like it, they really liked it. It's like, why? And if someone just says cuz, I'm just like,
well, that kind of defeats the conversation.
Yeah, and then it's like the conversation dies flat and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Like, okay.
Obviously, if you go on Reddit or Twitter or anything, it's like, it's to the extreme.
That's toxic though.
Yeah,
that's
it's to the extreme on both sides where it's like, I think recently I sent you something on One Piece where someone said, it's the Gear 5th for One Piece is the greatest, most iconic transformation in all of anime and manga. And you're just like, what? Like, no. I love One Piece, but dude.
But what?
Almost like any big magical girl anime is ahead of it in transformations.
True.
And of course, Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
You know, I may not be the biggest Dragon Ball fan, but you haven't even seen Dragon Ball. No. And you know of Super Saiyan.
Yeah, you just do. Like
it's just iconic. So it's stuff like that. Obviously, that Twitter and Reddit are extreme cases on both ends. But I guess my 2 cents on it is, what would you, if you're having a discussion with someone about why you like a specific movie, anime, etc., do you think about why? Is that something that goes through your mind?
Like when I say I like something or don't like something?
Yeah. And for anyone that's listening to the podcast, I would love to know your opinion on this as well. Is that something that goes through your mind when you're watching a movie, when you're watching a show, when you're playing a video game?
Yeah.
Are you more in the moment and you're just enjoying it or not enjoying it for whatever reason? Or do you think after why you didn't like it?
Well, you know me when it comes, we talked a poop ton about comic book movies last week, but you know me well enough when we watch like a nerd movie, a comic book movie. I'm watching it at like 3 different ways, where I'm watching it for enjoyment, watching it from like a comic book nerd perspective, and then with my film background, I'm also watching it from a film background, right?
Right. You're especially with movies, you're often
Yeah,
you love
often
cinematography.
overanalyze.
Well, you
films
love
sometimes.
cinematography too. You
I
love
do.
camera angles and the decisions
Because
made.
that helps tell the story,
well, and it's,
in my opinion.
I
That's
think
just,
for me, it's also something that I enjoy having someone that's that's more in the industry.
yeah,
Because I like when you would stuff like I wouldn't notice,
yeah,
like the Avengers one takers.
yeah.
Like you never think about that when you're watching the movie, but if you're someone who knows about it and it can recognize it, you're like, wow, there was no cuts.
It's just that uniqueness that makes, because that stuff helps tell part of the story. Like the biggest thing that comes to mind when I think of like how cinematography helps tell stories, and it happens in a lot of movies too, a lot of TV shows, is I think it's called through the window shot, and it's always your main character is on like far away, and you're always looking at the character through a window or through a closed door or something, and it's just to make you feel distant
Like
from the
there's a
character. And that's just
in high school. I took the film class as my art.
nice.
In Ontario, you need to have an art
Credit for grade 11 or 12, yeah.
well, art credit in general to graduate. And obviously everyone always takes art, but I'm horrific when it comes to art. So I was like, no. And I didn't want to take music because I was taking guitar lessons at the time, and I was like, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Like I could have, but I didn't want to I didn't want to make it something that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a horrible guitarist. Well, I'm not great, but I wasn't good at terms of practicing all the time. But I didn't want to make it more work. You know, like I wanted to play the guitar still being something fun, not like music is now homework. And so I ended up taking film because that was basically my only option. And we had different. Did you take film in high school? Yeah. So they have the different chapters are on different styles. Like so we watched Citizen Kane.
Phenomenal film.
And that was what we watched, I believe, for cinematography.
Yeah,
because
makes
of
sense.
all the different angles.
Yeah.
Like they literally would have like cutouts so that they would get like the lower angles of the camera and stuff.
And that stuff helps tell the story. Music also helps tell the story. I know with our one friend, he talks about how certain animes, movies have such cliche musics and stuff like that.
I like sad moments.
But like it helps tell the story. Like for example, Darth Vader would not be as iconic as he is today
if something happy-go-lucky was going on.
Yeah, without the Imperial March. Jaws would not have if it didn't have that music.
The perfect example is turn off the music and then put on something ridiculous, like something you would just
like Carney music, like
something super upbeat. Yeah. You just see Darth Vader walking in and choking people.
You see like Darth Vader walk into Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars. It's just like
it doesn't feel right.
There's so many aspects that a lot of people disregard when it comes to.
But if you play Uptown Funk for someone going down the street that's just like won the lottery and they're like dancing,
the end of
Ant
Man, the beginning of Ant Man, the end of Ant Man. If Uptown Funk was playing, it would fit. It's fine, but it's all about using those aspects for film, for anime, even like it doesn't matter the music, and that's why when I watch anime, music is important to me, whether it be the openings, the ending. Like for example, one that comes to mind is Tokyo Ghoul, the end of the first season. When your main character is getting tortured and breaks out kind of thing and fights Jason, right? Yep. And you have a slowed down version of Unravel playing, which is the opening.
Yeah, and it's like
Goosebumps.
Tanuki's like broke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that is perfect storytelling for music. So going back to the root of the question, I think about all those different things because if you take all of those away, it pushes down the enjoyment.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's just I want to be able to answer why I liked something.
Yeah, why you didn't like it. Yeah.
I want to be able to, I just want to be prepared because there's going to be someone who doesn't share the same opinion as me.
Exactly.
And especially now that we started the podcast, there's a good chance. There's times where you and I don't have the same opinion and and I want to be able to back up why I have my opinion.
You have your opinion, why I have my opinion. Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry to go on that rant.
No, but that's
everybody. But I am definitely curious. If you're not already, feel free to join us in our Discord. Follow the link tree in the description and then join the Discord. I'm definitely super interested in what type of way
you rate, how do you review,
how you review some of your content, how do you rate it, do you keep track of what you watch, do you rank it, are you just using the Netflix I liked this?
Yeah. Do you have an anime
like
list?
a thumbs up, thumbs down? Are you rating your movies on like IMDb?
So IMDb is a good one. Here's a good thing too, Rotten Tomatoes. If you do want to get into rating movies or anime, we use like My Anime List, for example.
Yep, there's also AniList as well.
AniList is another one for anime. If you want to do movies, you can do it on IMDb. You can do it on Rotten Tomatoes if you want to leave a report. A big one is called Letterboxd. There's an app for it. There's a website for it. And it's just out of 5 stars, you can do half stars. And you just add it to your database. You can make, not playlists. That's not like...
If you like beer,
things.
Untapped.
Beer, Untapped.
We talked about it last week.
There is... whatever you like, there's probably a
way of keeping track of it.
Exactly.
So let us know, like, what type of stuff do you enjoy, and do you find that when you start rating it, it takes enjoyment out of it? I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, good point.
But definitely join our Discord and let us know. Speaking of the Discord, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the Discord. We do try our best to answer all the questions that are asked. This one comes from, I put on my fake glasses that I don't own. Azaro Haven?
Yep.
And
Azaro Haven?
And the question is, what's the Misfit crew's favorite iteration of Robin? Now, it says Ronin, but I feel like there's only one Ronin. So I'm
multiple Ronins, but we're going to go with
with Robin because I only know one Ronin. So
which one of Ronin do you know?
I was thinking more like Ronin from Marvel.
Okay. Well, I don't know. You're reading the last Ronin, the TMNT story.
Yeah, but when I think of Ronin, I'm thinking of like Hawkeye.
Yeah. Okay. Not to be confused with Ronan, the accuser.
Yeah.
You know, really up to him. Anyways, yeah, let's do Robins. First, like, favorite.
Well, I guess obviously you have the main Robins, but I'm assuming this goes full out.
Just all in general.
Any Robin. We'll even add Batgirls to it too. All the different. The Bat family. Let's just go Bat family.
Oh, very broad. Could we do a top 3?
No.
I already know what your answer is.
I guess that's unfair. I talked about if he's one of my favorite superheroes, he's probably my favorite Robin. And that's obviously Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
I just think he has like such great character development in like from the beginning, obviously very Batman-esque beginning. His parents are kind of killed, kind of by a villain, you know, kind of like revenge story. And then Bruce is like, no, channel it here.
And New 52 gave him more story and gave him a new suit. I like the red
Gave him a new suit, gave a new complexity to the circus.
Yep.
That the circus wasn't exactly clean.
Court of Owls, Talon, the whole...
Exactly.
How Nightwing was supposed to be the next Talon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was all such good storytelling.
But I like that he starts off as like Bruce being like, you're me. You're just like me.
Yeah.
You got to be like me. But Dick is like, no, I don't have to be like you. Like
I could be better.
Yeah, but that's the thing I like. I like that Dick's like, I can do things my own way and I can do it better. And I don't have to use all this anger that you have, Bruce, to be the reasoning for why I do things.
For sure.
And I think, obviously, in different stories where Batman's not around, he kind of ends up taking up the cape. And I do really think that overall, Dick is like the good iteration of Batman.
Yeah.
It's like Batman without all the baggage.
Literally. Okay, so for me, if we're doing straight Robins, Dick Grayson, hands down. If we're doing the entire Bat family, this is where it becomes a little tricky for me.
Oh, interesting.
Because
are you going...
I'm a big fan of Terry McGinnis.
That's where I thought
Batman Beyond.
Go. I don't know if I would go that far.
But to me, it's part of the Bat. It's just the extended Bat family. Like, he's more the Bat family, in my opinion, than Batwing. But that's just my opinion. Because I don't know, like,
shot
he's
at
still...
Batwing.
Sorry.
You can make the argument that he's not even alive yet, like Terry.
The main continuity. You're not wrong.
So I would consider him not part of the Bat family.
Come on.
Well, like, he is part of the extended Bat family, but not part of like this umbrella we're using right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well then.
You have to be able to be under Bruce, and he has to be able to still fight.
I've seen Return of the Joker. I know Bruce can fight still. Dang it, eh? Okay, then then Dick Grayson. Like that's just, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll go to our second favorite. Maybe we'll have a difference of opinion.
Maybe no. I feel like you're just gonna say Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, I guess if we're including Batgirl. Okay, we'll go Robin's only.
Just Robins. Okay, cool. Tim Drake.
Okay, so we're different because I'm gonna go with Jason Todd.
Oh, okay.
So why Tim Drake for you?
I
think his is interesting because he's not a broken Robin.
He's not angsty boy.
Well, he doesn't have he doesn't have a broken family.
Yeah.
He basically chooses and outs. He's like, I know who you are. I want to be Robin.
Yeah, he you see a different style of Robin because don't get me wrong, Dick and Jason they're intelligent in their own way, but Tim Drake is just intelligent more than acrobatics, right?
He's kind of like the detective side of Bruce.
Yeah, exactly. And he came to Bruce as Robin after a horrific moment in time, right? Where he was like, no, I know who you are. Like, I'm going to be Robin. And he did not want to take Tim on.
Because of what's happened.
He knows this one's going to die too, or this one's going to leave him, right? And then he obviously went on to his own eventually, became Red Robin as well. And he helped New 52. He was part of the Teen Titans at the time. But I don't know. I just think Tim Drake is very different because then you go back to Damian and then you're just back to another broken Robin.
I think Damian's just a little bit too much because he's like so perfect in terms of like
perfect but not perfect.
Yeah, he's like bred. Like his issue is that he's a killer.
Yeah,
and you're just like, hey, we don't kill. Where the thing I like about Jason is he has to live up to Dick.
Yeah.
Right. So he's already got issues. Like he's already got like the nice broken family. He's got all like the issues, you know. But then on top of that, he has a Robin that was already here that he has to live up to.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He's never going to be Dick Grayson.
Nope.
And then obviously you have him die to Joker. And I love his character arc with the Red Hood and being like,
returning.
You weren't willing to, like, that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
The Joker's still there. Like, do I mean nothing to you, Bruce? And I like how he really takes a turn being like, you know what? If you're not going to handle it, I will. And of course, he ends up being like rubber bullets. But then he's the thing about the character is he always ends up being like, he really rides the line where like if they need him to, all of a sudden he's using real guns again.
Yeah,
like real bullets, and he's killing people. But then when you need him to fit into the Bat family, it's like, oh no, he's good now.
Bullets.
He's rubber bullets.
I mean, he had his own team. He had Red Hood and the Outlaws for a little bit.
I think the mask and the outfit's cool. It's not as typical Bat family because
it's not the domino mask, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I think Nightwing's outfit is cool, but at the end of the day, you can
still
totally
Robin-y.
Yeah, you can still believe that he's totally just a Batman.
And you have Red Robin
sidekick, whereas Red Hood is like actually different.
Yeah,
he's got the jacket. Obviously, he's got guns, and he's got the helmet, mask.
So, what was your opinion then on Arkham Knight?
Arkham Knight, like the video game?
Yeah, because isn't the story that Jason Todd is Arkham Knight?
Yeah, he is. Big thing. He's wearing the Red Hood mask under the Arkham Knight mask. Yeah. I thought Arkham Knight's look was awesome. Obviously, it looks like Batman.
Yeah, the whole point of it.
Yeah, but I think the thing that makes Arkham Knight cool is they were messing with you because they were like, they didn't want you to know it's Jason, right? So they create this whole new character, looks awesome, but then at the same time, you're like, there's no way it's Jason because he's the Red Hood. And the way that they did the Arkham games, they were so true to so much of Batman lore that I feel like they wouldn't just do Jason dirty like that. Like they wouldn't just be like, oh no, we readjusted the lore. He's Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is just like it's more of a trick for the fans to be like, oh no, you guys were right the whole time. He actually is the Red Hood.
By the way, it's him. Yeah. Okay.
Because the final fight, you're fighting the Red Hood.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious your opinion if you were okay with how they did that.
I did. I liked it. I thought the Arkham Knight also was a cool design.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. The design of Arkham Knight was sick.
But yeah, thanks a lot for the question. And if you want to ask us a question, feel free to join the Discord once again. And drop a question.
Good old Discord.
We'll even let you know. We give it a nice little check mark.
Exactly.
But this has been a fun episode. Hope you guys enjoy. If you are into anime, want to know what we're watching next season, maybe we'll go over a quick little overview of what we liked from last season. check out next week's episode where we will be discussing the spring 2023 anime season.
Anyway, until then, we will see you next week.
And yeah, bye.
Bye.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you. And see you next week.